on Ask a Jack, we are talking about Donald Trump. Earlier last week, he was released in a video saying some very vulgar things, and then when he came out with his apology, his statement included the fact that it should be dismissed as locker room talk. So we're coming out and asking you today if you think his vulgar words should be used as should be dismissed as locker room talk or taken more seriously.
I don't think it should be dismissed as locker room talk because I feel like he's if he wants to be president, he has to carry himself in a more mature manner, and saying that in front of a bunch of people, I'm assuming, that's not really appropriate. It's not an appropriate thing for a president to do.
Personally, I wouldn't say it's locker room talk. I mean, I'm here with my fraternity and we don't talk like that, and that's just about as locker room or bro as it really gets. My mom, she just found out she's pregnant with another little girl, and I have a 2-year-old sister, so I mean, to have that be someone who a lot of the people in the world are supposed to look up to, this isn't really a good fit for that, you know?
Okay.
So yeah, it's not really locker room talk if it's happening in public.
It should not be handled as just locker room talk because you are running for one of the most important positions in the free world. So to me, everything that they say in their past on both sides should be brought up.
The fact that he didn't really know his microphone is on, just as coming from a guy, we say stuff like that, especially when we're around other guys.
Okay.
I don't know enough of the facts and what was going on and stuff, but if it wasn't just directly towards the media or, this wasn't something he meant to have on his presidential campaign, and so, no, it shouldn't be taken lightly, but this should just be blown off, I think. It's not that big of a deal. People like to blow things out of proportion this time of year, and so I think there are bigger things we can worry about than what he said whenever he thought a microphone was turned off for something not even related to presidential campaign.
Just honestly, the respect that a candidate would have towards women is pretty important. And I know obviously we have a woman running, and then of course we have Donald Trump, but I think regardless of if you're a guy or not, there still should be a lot of respect.
Okay.
So I think even if that's just considered locker room talk, even in a joking manner, I think that's way too crude. So I think that might be something that should be looked at and probably not thrown under the bus, because a lot of stuff like that already is thrown under the bus, as is nowadays.
It really depends on what kind of context he meant it in, I guess. I mean, I'd have to see the video, personally, see, to hear how he was talking, because, I mean, it could be, but it couldn't be. I mean, if he was being a little bit more serious about it, I mean, yeah, but locker room talk's usually joking around, I mean, if he wasn't aware his microphone was on, he might have been joking around. But you just don't know.
I think everything that the candidates say should be taken seriously, but I also think that if we do take things seriously, what they say, then we need to look at the context of where it was said, who it was said to, and how it was said, and make sure there's not a bias whenever it's being portrayed out into the public.
I definitely believe it should be taken seriously. Despite the fact that he's president, I mean, we're already trying to combat a rape culture. We're trying to combat it. That's not acceptable from anybody, especially not a presidential candidate. The truth of the matter is, he said a lot of crazy things before, but this may have been the worst thing he's ever said. It's not more so what he said that really makes me feel super weary of him, but it's the fact that he said he brought the actions out. He carried out these actions, such as groping and kissing, the Miss America contestants. I don't think you could dismiss it as locker room talk, because I mean, I've had discussions with my friends. I was an athlete. We talk about some crazy things. We talk about aliens, but we've never talked about sexually assaulting or in any way infringing upon a woman's personal space, or anyone's personal space for that matter. So I don't really know what he's talking about in that regard. It makes us all look bad as guys, because you would think that our conversations are so perverted, but that's not the case for all guys. The only defense he has in this matter is that this was over a decade ago, but still, you're the same man. You criticize Hillary for what she said 20 years ago, 15, 16 years ago, even last year. I mean, you said it. You got to take accountability for what you say.